Hi, and welcome to a presentation given by the Shadowserver Foundation. Honeypot Brute Force Events Report. A honeypot-based report on infected machines and IoT devices in your network or constituency. Presentation aims and objectives. Introduce honeypot sensors and brute force events. Highlight a sample honeypot brute force events report. Describe key features of the report. Demonstrate how a national CERT can action a honeypot brute force events report. Offer guidance on how to protect and remediate attacks, taking IoT devices as examples. Honeypot sensors. Honeypots are passive resources that are placed on a network to listen for incoming connections, which typically turn out to be attacks. Shadowserver runs multiple honeypot sensor types around the world at scale, over 1,500 honeypot instances. These observe server-side attack activity from brute force attack attempts, vulnerability exploitation, including remote code execution, and scans and reconnaissance attempts. Server-side honeypots are effective at observing IoT-related threats, botnets, scanning activity, exploitation of known server-side vulnerabilities, amplification DDoS, and spam. Honeypot brute force. Shadowserver investigates credential brute force attacks to provide a window into current threat landscapes. Attackers connecting to a honeypot reveal attacker toolsets, techniques, and indicators of compromise when attempting to brute force a device. Secure Shell, SSH, Remote Desk Protocol, RDP, are some of the most popular targets, acting as front door gateways to network intrusion. According to Microsoft, in 2021, attacks on RDP servers saw a 325% rise against their honeypots. Such a rise in RDP attacks could be indicative of the increase in remote home working as a result of the pandemic. IoT device attacks also start with exploiting a vulnerability in the target device or by brute forcing device credentials. As an example, in 2016, the success of the Mirai botnet was due to only 61 hard-coded username and password pairs. The diagrams on the right of this slide show a basic brute force attack and also a map highlighting globally where brute force attacks that connect to our Shadowserver honeypot sensors are originating from. Honeypot sensors, brute force continued. The primary source of the honeypot brute force report are telnet SSH honeypots. These honeypots emulate devices that have easily guessable passwords. After successful login by the attacker, honeypots collect session information, which may include downloaded malware. Other honeypots also emulate FTP, VNC, and SMTP services and can observe brute force attacks. IoT malware is typically behind most of these types of attack. The Honeypot Brute Force Events Report. This report is available as a file in CSV format. The report file name contains honeypot_brute_force. Reports can be sent to the consumer as email attachments or downloaded via HTTP or obtained via a RESTful API. All timestamps in this report are given in UTC. Honeypot Brute Force Events Report continued. On this slide, we show an example of a brute force report as an extract taken from our website, which includes a report summary, an overview of report fields, and a sample report CSV file. Please visit the URL shown on this slide for full details on the report. Actioning a brute force report. Looking at this slide, we have an example brute force report highlighting key report fields such as the timestamp of the event, the IP in question, source port, and some related geolocation data. Moving on to the next slide. As a national cert, we can now begin to action this report by performing an IP whois lookup, as demonstrated on this slide, which resolves to a Dutch ISP as a responsible network owner for the IP in question. As a result, the national cert can now coordinate with the ISP for a review and an investigation to be undertaken into the IP at the date and time shown in the report. Verifying our results. False positives may be possible in a brute force report if a researcher attempts to connect to our honeypot. A user may also mistype an IP address and connect. A successful SSH telnet connection will be enough in itself to generate a report. The report will summarize an SSH or telnet session, which will typically include multiple passwords being brute forced, commands executed, and sometimes a hash of any binaries downloaded. Honeypot brute force events protect. To negate brute force attacks on your network devices, restrict access to those that need it, enhance the security of the port and the protocol, implement strong password policies, enable two-factor authentication, use captchas, limit the number of open ports, limit logon attempts, and block malicious IP addresses, if applicable, coming into the device. Honeypot brute force events, remediation. Install the latest AV malware removal tools to scan and quarantine the infection, if applicable. Update the firmware of a device, if applicable, by going to the manufacturer website to download and install the latest version. Reboot the device. If all else fails, perform a factory reset. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Please consider subscribing to our reports. By doing so, you will give an ever-growing community of internet defenders dedicated to the pursuit of a safer, more secure internet. Thank you. Yeah, I know. There must be